Hello friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be doing my January reads wrap up. Yes, I am a little late. I am posting this in February, but I am just a girl, okay? I'm just out here trying my best. It is what it is. This is my January reads wrap up, and I just would like to take a little moment of appreciation for my t-shirt, which says, "I have no shelf control," which is true. Okay, so I have 6 books to go over for my January reads. 4 of them are audiobooks and 2 are physical books. So there wasn't a whole lot of physical book reading going on here in January. Part of that is because Onyx Storm did release January 21st and I did start to pick that up. I was hoping to get it done before the end of January and that just did not happen. So it is what it is. Okay, so the first book that I have to talk about is The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I rated this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. The book was not a literature masterpiece, as I think most people who read Frida McFadden, you already know this going into these books. But they're entertaining. They're just fast-paced, entertaining reads or listens if you're doing audiobook versions. With this book, I was able to predict some of the directions that the plot went, but I also was definitely surprised by the twist at the end. Overall, it was an entertaining, fast-paced thriller that served as a good palate cleanser book. Okay, the second book is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I did physically read this book. I actually very much enjoyed this book. I just am starting this series, the whole Naturals series, so I started with the first one, and it actually ended up being my first out of 4 surprise reads that my friend wrapped for me. We did a whole thing on each other's TikToks where we picked 4 reads for each other, wrapped them so we didn't know what they were, and then those were to be the next 4 books that we read. Obviously, I broke my challenge because I started to read Onyx Storm when that came out, but I couldn't just have that book sitting there staring at me while the rest of the world is reading it. Like, I could not. So I did have to break that challenge and read that. But I will continue after I'm done Onyx Storm with the rest of the surprise wrapped reads. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and you want to know, you can go over to my TikTok, which is Reading with Richele as well, and check all that out for yourself. But getting back to the task at hand here, The Naturals, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This book was kind of like what you get if you combined Criminal Minds but with teenagers. It was a quick and fun read. It's really a great book, I think, worth reading if you're a fan of Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which I absolutely am. I liked how this concept of what she's got going on here with this series is very different from the Inheritance Game series, which I read and gave 5 stars to those books. So what it really is The Naturals is about a program that involves a small group of gifted teens, young adults that the FBI recruits to help solve cold cases. And Cassie, who is the main FMC, she is intrigued by the offer that she gets as her own mother was murdered and the case was never solved. So she ends up wanting to go into the program to see if she can figure out kind of what happened to her own mom as well. And each of the teens in this program each has their own gift or talent. Like, she is a profiler. There's another character in there who is able to tell if you're lying or tell lies really well. I'm not in any rush to continue this series, but I definitely will be. I do have the second book, Killer Instinct, so I think that will be probably a part of my February reads. I most likely will be using these books as just quick palate cleansers in between reading heavier fantasy novels, but overall, very much enjoyed. Okay, next we have another Frida McFadden book, and it was The Inmate, which I listened to audiobook as well. And I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. So I have my Goodreads reviews here of the book, and I will just read it. I said that this book was a struggle to get through, and there was a point where I considered not continuing on, but I was listening to the audiobook, so I ended up just finishing it while I was doing other things around the house, walking my dog, and just had it playing. The FMC in this book was very frustrating. I felt anyways that she just easily overlooked way too many things and was just written to have no common sense. I found the plot very weak. Majority of this book was very predictable. It's just not the best Frida McFadden book out there, in my opinion, okay? If you loved this book, that's amazing for you, but it just was not for me. Okay, and the next book that I physically read in January was From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And the opinions on this book are very up and down, at least when I was looking on Goodreads. Some people loved this book and this series. Some people really did not. I liked it. I liked this book. I gave From Blood and Ash 4 out of 5 stars. Now, trying to explain what this book is about and trying to make sense of it myself does make my brain hurt. Now that I've had time to sit with the book, I have a much clearer understanding of everything that happened, but I was doing a lot of Googling in the process of reading this book, trying to figure out who was who and where was where. I was quite confused for majority of the book. It did all come together and eventually made sense for me. I'm also confused about how I feel about the main FMC, Poppy. She's either going to, I think, develop into a very badass character, or she is going to get on my last nerve. I hope it's not the latter, but we'll see. I did love the action in this book, okay? So this is something that I really appreciated, was there was always something happening in this book. In some fantasy books, I find there are large chunks of dialogue where the characters they're just doing a lot of talking, a lot of planning, a lot of discussion on what's to come, what they're gonna do next, which I understand is necessary at times, but I don't know, I found this book was just able to kind of do that and also be having things going on that kept you entertained. Like, things were happening, people were dying, the castle was being invaded, there were battles, they were traveling through the blood forest and things were attacking them in there. It held my interest, so I did really appreciate that. I don't know about anybody else who's read this book, but I kind of felt like the time period for me, what I was picturing in my head, gave me Game of Thrones vibes, like for the time period anyways. Yeah, honestly, I'm just trying to keep an open mind as I continue through the series. I'm trying not to let people's negative judgments of the book or series cloud my judgments moving forwards. Was it absolutely perfect? No. Like, I think if I wasn't as confused, I would have gave it 5 stars, but now that I know what's going on, hopefully the rest of the books will be an enjoyable experience for me and I can give those ones 5 stars. But anyways, I gave it 4 stars. It was a strong book that held my interest and it entertained me. So the 5th book for January is another audiobook, and it is another Frida McFadden book. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but I'll just get to the review here. So The Coworker was the book, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So again, it was okay. It didn't wow me. That is kind of seeming to be the theme of the Frida McFadden books that I read. Like, they're just okay. They don't blow me out of the water. They just serve their purpose as entertainment while I'm walking my dog or cleaning the house or doing cooking. But again, it's not leaving me with like book hangover. It's not leaving me thinking about it days after. I'm not obsessed with any of the characters. I don't know, like, they're just okay. But I was absolutely obsessed with The Housemaid, the first book. I still actually haven't finished the series of The Housemaid, but that first book, I loved it and I flew through it so fast. I couldn't put it down. And Never Lie was another one by Frida McFadden that I really enjoyed. Again, could not put down. But those seem to be the only 2 books that she has written that have done that for me. I don't know, I've just been on this journey of trying to go through all of these Frida McFadden books, searching for one that gives me that same energy and that same like shocking twist. Like, could not put the book down like The Housemaid and Never Lie gave me, but this one wasn't it. And then the 6th book for January, again, another audiobook, another Frida McFadden book, okay? But this one was her new release. It just released January 28th, and I listened to it as an audiobook. It was The Crash by Frida McFadden. So I kind of was thinking, I'm like, okay, brand new release. Let's see what this is about. Maybe this will be the one. It wasn't. Again, I think I need to break up with Frida McFadden, to be honest with you, and that is a whole nother video in itself. I don't know. Like I said, I keep going through her books, searching for one as good as The Housemaid and Never Lie, but I'm just not getting there. So I think after finishing The Crash here, it's gonna be my last Frida McFadden book that I probably read for a while. I was contemplating reading The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden, but I'm just honestly kind of worried it will just be a waste of my time. So I don't know. If you feel the same as me on Frida McFadden, like, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. If you love Frida McFadden books, by any means, I'm not trying to offend anyone who loves her writing and loves her books. That is absolutely amazing for you. It's just not for me. And reading is subjective, which is amazing that we can all have different opinions and different tastes in what we read. But yeah, it just wasn't for me again. These aren't terrible books by any means, but I did give The Crash 3 out of 5 stars again, like just in that mid-range. Again, another fast audiobook listen while I was doing things to entertain me. I found most of the twists in this book, not all, but most, were predictable. The main female character was very irritating. It honestly was like when you watch a scary movie and you're like screaming at the TV, don't open that door. And then that's exactly what that character does. And then something bad proceeds to happen to them. And you're like, I told you. That's kind of how this book was for me. There was a lot of miscommunication or no communication between the characters on like what was actually going on with them or how they felt. I don't want to give anything away, but I hate that book trope. Like, just freaking ugh. But again, I didn't hate the book. It was entertaining enough. But I'm not going to be purchasing it to add to my physical collection. And I think that will probably be the last Frida McFadden book that I read for a while. So anyways, so that was my January reading wrap up. It was only 6 books, 4 of them audiobooks. Again, like I said at the beginning of this video, I didn't do a lot of physical reading this month. If I'm being honest with you, my soul has actually been addicted to playing Stardew Valley recently, and I'm having a very hard time prying myself away from that game to do reading. Like, I honestly wish I was done Onyx Storm by now, but I'm not, because this game has taken over my life. So there's that. Hopefully I can get through some more physical reading and some better just books in quality this February. We will see. My February TBR so far consists of finishing Onyx Storm and reading my other surprise reads that my friend wrapped for me back in January, which is Butcher and Blackbird, Powerless, and Heartless Hunter. So that's the goal. We will see how that goes. I'm going on a trip to Maui in February, so I don't know how much reading I will do because the plane rides are overnight, so I'm hoping to be sleeping more so than reading, but we'll see. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. Comment below how many books did you read in February? Did you accomplish your TBR goals for the month? Did you read more or less than you thought you would? I would love to know. And stay tuned for my next video, which is going to be my 25 books for 2025. I have a goal of reading 50 books, but I'm at least gonna go through my top priority 25 books.